Hi, my name is John, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Striking Flint. When setting up Striking Flint, the first thing you do is set up the map cards. You take one map for each player and arrange them as squarely as possible in the center of the play area, making sure there are at least 3 groups of connected gray spaces, or stations. Then, each player chooses a faction and takes the role card, workers, and time tracker of that color, as well as 1 exhaustion cube. They're going to put all of those in their play area. Next, it's time to set up the time track. Place a white newspaper cube on each newspaper icon. Take each player's time tracker, mix them up randomly, and place them in a stack on the 1 space. Then, take the concession token and place it on the 40 space of the time track. Next, set up the strike breakers. Roll a die and place a strike breaker of the corresponding type on each number matching the die result. Then do the same thing a second time, making sure that the die result is different during the 2 rolls. After you set up strike breakers, each player takes 1 worker and places it on a white or gray space. 1 player must place their worker on a gray space. Take 3 more exhaustion cubes per player, so 9 in a 3-player game, and place them in a supply near the time track. Also take the remaining newspaper cubes and place them in a supply as well. Finally, shuffle the event cards and reveal 1 to be the starting event. Striking Flint is a fully cooperative game. The players win and lose as a group. The players win if they're able to make the strike last long enough. That is, if their time trackers reach or pass the concessions token. They lose if all the workers are removed from factories, if they are unable to take any more exhaustion cubes, or if they are unable to place strike breakers when they need to. Turn order in Striking Flint is determined by the time track. The player whose time tracker is furthest back on the time track takes the next turn. If more than 1 player is on the same space, the player whose time tracker is on top of the stack goes next. At the start of your turn, look at the map to see if any of your workers share the same space as a strike breaker. If so, remove that worker from the board and place it back in your supply. Then, you take 1 action. You may take the action with your workers at no extra cost, or using an ally's workers at the cost of taking 1 exhaustion from the supply. The available actions are: Occupy. Take a worker from the supply and place it on a gray station space. Picket. Take a worker from the supply and place it on a white corner space. Move. Take any number of workers of the same faction and move them from 1 space to an adjacent space. Resist. Take a strike breaker within 1 space of your worker and return it to its supply. Rest. Return all of your exhaustion cubes to the supply. In addition to these 5 actions, which are always available to you, there may also be actions listed at the bottom of event cards. These actions can be done only while the event is in play and are done instead of your normal action. After you take 1 action, you take the amount of exhaustion cubes listed next to that action on your card or the event card and add them to your card. Then, move your time tracker a number of spaces on the track equal to the amount of exhaustion that you currently have. When moving your time tracker, if it lands on or crosses a space that matches your faction's color and icon, you activate the factory. When activating the factory, the first thing that you do is you activate any effects at the top of event cards. After you complete the actions on the event cards, roll the die. Activate each matching space on the map that does not have a worker in it. If that space contains a strike breaker token, The strike breakers have their own special actions. Authority strike breakers move one space closer to the nearest worker. Money strike breakers draw the nearest worker one space closer to them. Violent strike breakers push the nearest worker one space away. If the matching space does not have a worker or a strike breaker, there is an action listed on the map card. If that icon matches a strike breaker type, add one of those strike breakers to the space. If it has a cube, gain an exhaustion cube. If it has a meeple with an X on it, remove the nearest worker to that space. If your time tracker lands on or passes a space that has a white newspaper cube on it, remove the cube and draw the next card in the event deck. Add it to the current events in play. You can have any number of event cards in play, and they are not removed until the objectives on the event cards are complete. Once you've moved your time tracker and dealt with any consequences, check the map to see if there are any factories, that is, groups of gray spaces, that have at least one worker and no strike breakers. If there are at least 2 such factories, move the concession token one space back on the track toward the player's time trackers. Once your turn is over, play passes to the next player. The next player is always a player whose time tracker is on the earliest space. If there is a tie, the player whose tracker is on top of the stack takes the next turn. Throughout your turn, look at the event cards to see if any of the objectives in the cards are being met. Each event card has 2 objectives. They must be completed in order. When you complete objective 1, take a white newspaper cube and place it on that objective. Once you complete objective 2, on an event card that already has a cube, discard the event. You do not need to complete all the events to win the game, but trying to win the game without dealing with the events is extremely difficult. Players continue taking turns until they meet either the victory condition, the player's time trackers pass the concessions token, or they meet one of the 3 failure conditions, running out of exhaustion cubes, running out of one kind of strike breaker, or having no workers in factories. At this point, the game ends. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy Striking Flint.